Marine ecosystems have water containing greater than 1% salt. Phytoplankton in the oceans supply a large portion of Earth's oxygen and also take in carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Three kinds of marine ecosystems are coastal wetlands, coral reefs, and the oceans. Coastal wetlands are covered by salt water for all or part of the year. Coastal wetlands have several functions. They provide habitat and nesting areas. They absorb excess rain, which protects from flooding. They filter pollutants and sediments, and they provide recreational areas. Three kinds of coastal wetlands are estuaries, salt marshes, and mangrove swamps. An estuary is an area in which fresh water from a river mixes with salt water from the ocean. They form at the mouth of a river. They are very productive and are protected from ocean waves by the surrounding land. This graphic shows a diagram of an estuary. Notice the river water is fresh water and the ocean water is salt water. But the water in the estuary is referred to as brackish, since it is intermediate between fresh and salt water. Also notice the barrier islands that protect the marsh and the estuary from the ocean waves. There are several threats to estuaries, including use as dump sites for wastes, and these areas are also filled in and used for buildings and parking lots. A salt marsh is a coastal wetland characterized by grasses. They make up much of the shoreline of the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic coast. Mangrove swamps are dominated by mangrove trees and are located along coastal areas of tropical and subtropical zones. Now that we have identified and described coastal wetlands, let's discuss the second type of marine ecosystem, the coral reef. A coral reef is composed of limestone coral fragments. It is one of the most diverse and fragile ecosystems on Earth. Coral reefs are located in shallow, clear, warm saltwater. Look at the variety of organisms in this picture of a coral reef. As I stated, coral reefs are fragile. Therefore, they are very susceptible to environmental changes. Oil spills, sewage, pesticides, and contaminated runoff change the chemistry of the water around the coral reef. Slight variations in temperature of the water also affects the reef. Overfishing and tourism affect the reef and may cause corals to die and the reef to bleach. This in turn results in a decrease in biodiversity. Here, tourists are shown walking on and breaking off pieces of the reef, and the oil spills and the garbage pollutes the water. The third kind of marine ecosystem is the largest biome on Earth, the oceans. The ocean can be divided into life zones with unique characteristics. The life zones are the coastal zone, the euphotic zone, the bathyal zone, and the abyssal zone. Identify each zone in this diagram. The bottom axis indicates water temperature in degrees Celsius. The right side indicates depth and light availability. As you go deeper into the ocean, light availability decreases and the water temperature generally decreases. The coastal zone has warm, shallow, nutrient-rich water. It extends from the high tide mark to the edge of the continental shelf. This zone contains about 90% of all marine species. The euphotic zone is the upper layer of the open ocean that receives lots of sunlight. Phytoplankton are located here, so photosynthesis occurs in this zone. There are low nutrient levels and the dissolved oxygen concentration is high. The next life zone in the ocean is the bathyal zone. Light availability is low here and no producers are found here. The deepest life zone is the abyssal zone that is dark, cold, and has very little dissolved oxygen. Two main threats to oceans are pollution and overfishing. Sources of pollution in the ocean are fertilizers from runoff into rivers, industrial wastes, sewage, and garbage. All of these sources negatively affect wildlife by killing them directly or changing their habitats. A second threat to oceans is overfishing. This decreases specific populations of fish and reduces the overall biodiversity of the